welcome back to another cue card discussion. So today Grace and I are here to do a cue card which is about GERD.
Yes.
So we are talking to a patient who has been experiencing bitterness in his mouth, and it worsens especially in the morning. So he's really worried about what is the reason for it, right? So it's a very simple cue card because we
are just giving explanation of GERD
we are
and the
gathering
possible
information.
things.
Yeah, we have to gather information. We are telling the patient, yes, we suspect this might be the problem. So let's see how we can gather all this
kind
information.
of task everyone will be familiar, but the the problem is they may not be knowing how to explain the things.
Sentence construction can be a problem there.
Yes.
Yep. So we are going to show it to you guys. I hope this is going to be helpful. So I'll play the part of the nurse and Grace will be handling the part of the patient. So let's get started.
Your time starts now.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Please have a seat.
Thanks.
My name is Richa. I'm one of the registered nurses working in the suburban clinic. How can I help you today?
See, have been experiencing bitter taste in my mouth, especially in the morning for past couple of days.
I'm sorry to learn that you've been facing certain discomforts, but don't worry, I have reached the right place. Let me see what I can do to help you.
Okay.
However, I would like to ask you some questions so that I can get a better understanding about your condition, all right? So before we get into that, could you please help me with your name and age?
Yes, I'm James and I am 35 years old.
All right, James. So coming back to the questions, could you please tell me whether you experience any difficulty in swallowing?
Actually, I have some kind of burning sensation in the back of my throat.
So do you experience any difficulty while you're swallowing besides the burning sensation?
No, not much, but it is quite difficult for me to swallow, but not too much.
All right, okay. And now I would be asking you some questions about your general health and certain habits, okay? So do you have the habit of drinking alcohol?
Yes, occasionally.
All right. Have you checked your weight recently?
Yes, it is a bit overweight.
All right, okay. And what about smoking?
I don't smoke.
Good to know that. And now I need to ask you a question about the posture, okay? Do you think that you have any sort of bad posture while it's sleeping or when you are sitting?
Actually, I always lie on my tummy whenever I sleep and I slouch when I sit.
All right, okay. And do you have any unhealthy eating habits?
Yes, I depend on outside food most of the time.
All right. So thank you so much for answering all my questions so that I get a clear understanding about what might be the reason behind it, okay? So just to make sure that all the information I got is correct. So I would like to reiterate what we have discussed right now.
Okay.
From what you told me, I understand that you drink alcohol occasionally and your weight is a bit on the higher side and you do not have the habit of smoking and you do have a bad posture while you sleep because you always sleep on your tummy and while sitting also you slouch a lot.
Yes.
And you almost eat your food every time from outside too, right?
Most of the time,
Most of
yes.
the time, all right. So I hope that's all correct. And do you have anything else to add to it?
No, nothing.
All right. So from what you have told me, I suspect that you might have a condition called GERD. Have you ever heard about it?
No, what is it?
Okay, don't worry, I'll explain that to you, okay? So GERD means gastroesophageal reflux disease, okay? It is a digestive disease in which you might experience acid reflux, okay? Is that clear for you?
Yes.
Therefore, I would like to explain certain dietary and lifestyle measures that you can follow which will help to reduce the symptoms that you're experiencing right now. So may I take you through those?
Okay.
Oh, sure. So first thing that we need to do is try to control your weight. So weight management is very important in this case here. So in order to do that, you need to avoid certain foods which are unhealthy. You told me that you always eat food from outside, right?
Yes.
So try to find some time to cook food for yourself at home because homely meals are always good for you. And whenever you're eating meals, try to eat little and often and make sure that you're not eating it before 3 hours before your bedtime too. Okay? So will you be able to do this?
Yes.
All right, and you need to make some lifestyle changes too. Since you're not, since you don't have the habit of smoking, then you don't have to worry about it. But you told me that you drink alcohol occasionally, so it will be good if you can reduce the intake of that too.
But I think whatever you say, it sounds really unrealistic for me because it is too much that I can do. And moreover, you know, I am a very busy person, so I have my things and my type of things to do every time. So I don't think I will have time for all these things. Yes.
I do understand that you're a very busy person and making these changes immediately might be a little hectic for you as well. I totally get it. But given your health condition right now, it is the best thing that we can do. I hope you understand the seriousness of it. Because if you continue to do the same things that you're doing right now, there won't be any changes in the symptoms that you're experiencing. Rather, it might get worse.
Okay.
So instead of that, if you try to make slight changes, it can actually reverse the problem that you're facing right now. So I hope you get the point.
Yes, I admit that I have some kind of problems, especially I know that I'm a bit overweight. So I know I need to follow the instructions.
I'm glad to hear that. So I would also like to inform you, since you are having the habit of sleeping on your tummy, it will be good if you can sleep properly by elevating your head on the bed. So that will make sure that you're not having any sort of acid reflexes, or you will not experience the bitter taste in your mouth, especially when you wake up in the morning.
Okay.
And regular exercise is a must for you, because you understand that your weight is a bit on the higher side. So if you exercise regularly, we can control that too. Okay. And we make sure that you do not do any exercise right after a meal also. That is not healthy. Okay. So if you follow all these instructions, as I mentioned earlier, the symptoms can be controlled. Okay. So do you have any other concerns?
No.
All right. So I hope that I have clarified everything for you. I would also like to state one more thing. In case if you feel like the symptoms still persist, feel free to contact the doctor for that. Okay. So I hope I've been helpful for you. So if you have any further concerns or questions that is worrying you, feel free to ask me that. Okay. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.
So that's the end of our cue card, and it was a very nice cue card, right, Grace?
Yes.
Because here the patient is a nice patient, but
at some point of time,
at some point he's a little reluctant to make the changes. So when you deal with such patients, it is important that we make him understand the importance of making these changes, but we cannot be demanding at the same time too.
Yes.
So it's very tricky how we use your voice tone.
Yes, and at the same time, we cannot be judgmental as well.
That's true, yes. So we cannot call him a drinker, a smoker.
Or he was overweight, and how we explained it, it was in a different way.
Yes, so instead of calling a person you're overweight, we can use the phrase like your weight is bit on the higher side. We are actually conveying the same meaning there, but we used a phrase which is not kind of like a,
we focus on
like
the
a title.
facts.
Yes,
we focus on the facts, not on a judgmental phrase.
That's right. So if you can use certain positive words, okay, whenever you change the negative tone and the negative words, that will boost up your score.
Yes,
so
actually I think in this kind of role plays, they have bucket of vocabularies and phrases that they can use instead of being judgmental or commanding.
True. Yes. So whenever you handle such patients, always make sure that you're not hurting the emotions of the patient and you're not calling any names like you're a smoker, you're a drinker. You can say that I understand that you have the habit of smoking.
Yes, actually anyway we have to say that because that is a fact and we have to inform them. But at the same time we cannot be judgmental or we cannot hurt them.
Yes. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. So hereafter when you do or handle such cases, make sure that you follow all the instructions that has been provided here. So straight after this role play, there will be a feedback session where you will get to know how to create statements in a very easy way. So Grace and I will come back very soon with another video. Until then, take care. Bye-bye. Hello everyone, welcome back to another feedback session. So we just watched a role play where the nurse was talking to a middle-aged person. He has come to the hospital complaining that he's experiencing bitter taste in his mouth. So the nurse asked a couple of questions, you just saw that, and based on the symptoms, we suspect that he might have GERD. So that was the case, and we saw how the nurse was explaining all the information. So in this feedback session, I will be showing you how you can construct statements very easily by picking the action verbs and the keywords and construct a beautiful statement. So in this one, we will be only discussing the sentence construction. To understand the flow of conversation, please refer to the video. So this is the cue card. As you guys can see, the setting is given as a suburban clinic and the background information is here and the tasks as following. So let's have a look at the background information before we proceed further. So a middle-aged person has come in complaining of a bitter taste in his or her mouth, which is worse on waking and accompanied by a burning sensation in the back of throat. He or she is a little bit overweight and you notice a slight cough when he or she speaks. You suspect he or she has GERD. So this is the background information that we have. And our first task is check if the patient has difficulty in swallowing. So we are going to see the task analysis and see how you can build a statement for the first task, which is check if the patient has difficulty in swallowing. So let's get into it. Now, this is the basic introduction that I have used in the role play. Good morning, my name is Richa. I'm one of the registered nurses on duty today. How can I help you? The reason why I use this is because this was an unknown case. We don't have any history of the patient with us, and based on the context, it has to be treated like an unknown case. So let's begin with it. So once the patient tells you the concern, this is what you're going to do. You have to provide an initial assurance to the patient, and you have to say, I'm sorry to learn that you're unwell, but please be relaxed. Let's see what we can do. And then you have to collect the personal details of the patient. So the statement you can use for that is, for the purpose of documentation, could you please help me with your name and age? So then the patient will tell you the name, and from that you can proceed with the next conversation, which is, all right, Mr. David, I need to ask you some questions to get a clear understanding of the situation and ask a question, may I? So that is how we will proceed to task number 1 from the opening statement. So now getting back to task number 1. So task number 1 says check if the patient has difficulty in swallowing. So I highlighted the portion patient has difficulty in swallowing. So you can see how I have rearranged it in the question. Okay, so the question I'm going to ask is, do you have difficulty in swallowing? So if you notice, the patient was changed to you. So when it is you, obviously has will be changed to have. And then I have used the same keywords in the question itself, difficulty in swallowing, difficulty in swallowing. So that is how we can frame statements using the keywords from the case note or the cue card itself. So this is our question, do you have difficulty in swallowing? So that is how you rearrange it. Moving on to task number 2. Gather information about his or her general health and habits, alcohol use, being overweight, smoking, bad posture, unhealthy eating habits, etc. So here we have to ask a couple of questions and gather details about his general health and the habits that he has. So let's see how we can signpost, because signposting is very important here. We have to always indicate the patient whenever there is a shift in the topic that we have been discussing so far. So previously we had a signposting statement here. I need to ask you some questions. So again in task number 2, you do not have to use the same statement. Instead, you can use some statement like this. My next questions are about your general health and habits. So here you are just indicating the patient that you have some more questions, but now it is about general health and habits. You do not have to repeat the same statement that you used previously. Instead, you can use these types of statements. So let's look at the first question. It's about alcohol use. So this is the question that I do have here. Well, Mr. David, do you have the habit of drinking alcohol? Okay, that's a very simple question. Next one is about being overweight. So we cannot just ask the patient, are you overweight or underweight? Instead, we can ask the patient, have you checked your body weight recently? So the patient will say something. Say for example, the patient might tell you, I haven't or I have. So if the patient says I haven't, you can say, don't worry, we will weigh it right now. Or if the patient says that he has weighed himself, then you can ask for the weight. That is also another part which is followed after this. After then, you have to ask the next question, which is smoking. Do you have the habit of smoking cigarettes? That is also a pretty direct question. Then you have about bad posture. Then the question you have to use is, do you pay attention to your body posture? Okay, which is a very general question you can use, because we are trying to know whether the patient or the middle-aged man, he always look forward to the posture, where he is sitting or sleeping, whether he is focused about it. So that's a general question you can use there. Then the next question you have to use is about the unhealthy eating habits. So the question is, can you please explain your eating habits? So this is how you can ask questions for all these points which is mentioned here. So always make sure your questions are precise and you do not use any compound or leading questions. So that is how we can do task number 2. So moving on to the third one, explain that you suspect he or she has GERD, digestive disease, acid reflux. So this is the statement that you can use here. Mr. David, your symptoms are suggestive of a digestive disease called GERD. Have you heard about it? So this particular question is very important when it comes to the role play, because in our assessment criteria, under the clinical communication criteria, it is mentioned that you have to check the already existing knowledge of the patient. You have to check what the patient already knows about it. That is very important. So you have to ask this question there. Okay, this is just one way of doing it. So then the patient will say, I don't know about it, or he might say, I know a little bit, but I don't have a clear idea about it. Then you can move on to explain this point. Don't worry, I'll explain that to you. You have been experiencing acid reflux, which is caused from when the stomach acid leaks out of the stomach. Please don't worry, many people experience acid reflux from time to time. So this is the explanation that I have selected here to explain what is GERD. So I've said it is a digestive disease. Okay, and then I'm explaining to the patient that it is the patient has been experiencing acid reflux, and it is caused when the stomach acid leaks out of the stomach. Okay, so that is a point that I'm explaining to the patient. Then task number 4. Outline dietary and lifestyle measures, weight management, foods to avoid, meals little and often and not within 3 hours of bed, lifestyle, smoking, alcohol, elevation of head on bed, regular exercise, avoidance of exercise right after meals. So there are a lot of details, and you can see the explanation is also pretty lengthy here because I have explained each and every points there. Okay, but keep in mind the bracketed points or the bullet points are not mandatory, so you do not have to explain each and everything. But if you feel like that you do not have much information to provide and you just have 1 or 2 sentences of explanation in your hand, then you can go for the explanation of all the points which is mentioned here, which will make your entire explanation look a little lengthier, which will be better. Okay, so let's see how we can explain all these points. So this is the point that I have used to start this particular explanation. Let's discuss some dietary and lifestyle measures you can follow in order to avoid similar episodes in future. And then I've used this particular phrase, to begin with. Always try to use certain phrases like that in your role plays too. So to begin with, it is important to maintain the body mass index. Since your weight is a bit on the highest side, try to have a well-balanced diet and engage in some physical activities. So here, try not to say that you are overweight. Okay, instead of that, try to use certain wordings like this. The choice of words has to be very careful there. Then the next point is try not to eat foods which can cause heartburns, such as fried food, fast food, potato chips, or any processed snacks, etc. I hope you understand my point. So till this point, these are the points that I have mentioned. Weight management, foods to avoid. Okay, these 2 points. Then I'm moving on to the next one, which is meals little and often, not within 3 hours of bed. So that is a point this is explained here. Please not to eat meals little and often, but it is important to avoid eating anything within 3 hours of bed. Then I'm moving on to lifestyle points. So this is how you can start. It is also significant that you take a break from smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol, as it can trigger acid reflux. Please ensure to elevate your head on bed while sleeping. Also keep in mind to do regular exercises and not to do any right after meals. Are you following me, Mr. David? So this is a very simple and very direct sentence construction that you can use for this particular task. Moving on to the next one, task number 5. When the patient is reluctant, advise him to follow a routine. So my patient is reluctant here with the suggestion. So this is the statement that I'm going to use. I know it can be difficult to make all the changes right away. Please understand even a slight change in your lifestyle can bring differences in your health. Try to follow a routine and eventually it will be easier for you. I hope you understand. It's a very simple statement that I've used. So if you know really good convincing statements that you can use when you're dealing with a reluctant patient, then go for it. Okay. Moving on to the next one. Task number 6, advise on meeting the doctor if the symptoms still persist. Mr. David, in case if you don't feel any better even after following all the suggestions, please consult the doctor. Very simple, right? So these are the different sentence constructions for this particular cue card, and I hope it is clear for you guys. So always make sure that you have a repeated practice. You practice it regularly to build sentences. If you're struggling to create statements and explain and convey the points to the patient during the role play, Try to improve it by using this strategy, by rearranging the action verbs and by picking the keyword and elaborating it. So try to have the habit of building statements every day, so then gradually it will be easier for you. So I hope this is clear for you guys. Alright, so we just saw a role play demonstration as well as a feedback session where you know how to create statements in a very easy manner. So I hope it was helpful for you guys. If yes, let us know in the comment section. Also, if you have any suggestions about any particular topics to be done as a role play, please feel free to comment in the comment section. We will definitely get back with it. So I'll see you guys very soon in another video. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.
IILT, it's my cup of tea.